Hey creeps! We all know I'm obsessed with Los Angeles history. It is the city of dreams, which means it is shrouded in mystery and heartbreak and disaster and tragedy. But it's also full of these things that should have been impossible, yet somehow came true. Like the story of William Mulholland, who was this Irish dude that came to LA in 1877 after having worked in the British Merchant Navy and kind of worked his way across the United States. Started in the San Pedro shipyard, came up to the Pueblo in Los Angeles, which is now downtown Los Angeles, and was a ditch digger for water. And he learned from the very, very oldest, most pure way of bringing water to LA, digging down into the earth and bringing water. And then he met person after person and climbed ladder after ladder until he had an idea of piping water into Los Angeles. Now, LA, as we know it today, would not exist if it weren't for him. Palm trees, orchards, almost the entire livelihood of LA would not exist if it weren't for Mulholland. There's a scenic drive dedicated to him. Everybody knows the name Mulholland. But why is it that so many people don't know the reason why he retired, the reason he went into seclusion? Why is it that the most tragic moment of this man's life, the dark mark on his career, was essentially blanketed over? Nobody's talking about the St. Francis Dam disaster of 1928, which just so happens to be the worst engineering disaster in the United States, the second worst disaster in California history, and only took the life of 600 people. Why aren't people talking about this? That is what I intend to find out in this episode. So pour yourself a glass of wine, creeps, and get ready for our most immersive adventure yet. Chin chin.
Okay, creeps, our mission to figure out what the hell happened on March 13th, 1928, what is going on with the St. Francis Dam, and why is nobody talking about it, takes us 60 miles northeast of Los Angeles to a place called Green Valley. And we are going to a place called Heart and Soul, which is kind of the one-stop shop for all things St. Francis Dam related. And we're meeting up with Frank Rock, who is the dam man. They actually call him that. He is the dam expert. So if anyone can give us answers, it's going to be him. And I couldn't be more excited. So let's get out of LA and go do this because I'm ready. How about you guys? Oh, you guys didn't think I was going to be drinking wine on the road, did you? Come on. I get a lot of crap from people because I get oddly emotional when I know I am walking in history, or in this case, driving in history. I am taking the exact same route that Mulholland would have taken March 12th, 1928, when he got another worried phone call from one of his dam keepers who kept saying, like, listen, there is this leak, and now we have muddy water and sediment in the water, and that is not good, and I am scared the foundation is eroding. And Mulholland would have been taking this path up to that dam to take a look at it because he always inspected his dams himself. We all know Mulholland had an ego. Let's be honest, he was the man that walked on water. He started as a young man, a little Irish fella, then he meets Fred Eaton, who brings him into the LA City Water Company situation that was happening at the time. And together they become besties and they lay the first pipes because Eaton told Mulholland, he's like, hey dude, we need water. Eaton's like, well, there's this sweet little lake up in Owens Valley that's got tons of water. And ironically enough and crazy, it's 400 feet above sea level. LA, in case you didn't know, is only a couple feet above sea level. So that is all downhill. So Mulholland goes, let's put a pipe in and let's just pipe in that water. The problem is, that's going to cost a lot of money. It's not Chinatown, but it's shady. And they put out a whole bunch of fake news headlines in the newspapers saying, LA's running out of water. We're all going to die. There is no water. Maybe not that extreme, but you know what I'm saying. The people in LA voted for it, and they're like, hell yes, we will pay for this pipeline because we don't want to die. It should also be known, when they started taking water from that Owens Valley lake, the people up there were not happy. This birthed the Owens Valley conflict in the water wars. Farmers were being charged for their water and they were losing their water. Their livelihood was going down while these two bros down in LA were having like a crazy good time with all of the money of their water. And so they started dynamiting up the aqueduct. Like, that was a legit thing. Like, these farmers were pissed. Green Valley, this entire area, also is known for UFO sightings. Yeah, bet you didn't see that one coming. Apparently, people see them all the time. There's even a lake called Diablo Lake. Why? Well, because people thought the actual devil lived at the bottom of this lake. And a whole other little bit of lore of the lake, they have a thing called the Thunderbird, which is essentially their version of the Loch Ness Monster. Supposedly, it has the neck of a giraffe, the wings of a bat, and 6 legs. So if you ever happen to like go to the Antelope Valley because you want to see the poppies and you want to have a relaxing day and you see a winged beast, just assume that it's from Diablo Lake and don't worry about it.
The town of Green Valley only has a population of about 1,000, and it sits 8 miles from the dam site. It is essentially the only thing in this town, so I'm really excited to talk to head chef Mike Yarnall to figure out why they've chosen their restaurant to be the one-stop shop for all things St. Francis Dam related.
Pleasure.
So this is your place, eh?
It is the Heart and Soul Coffee House. It's been here for 16 years. I've been doing professional fine dining cooking for 11 years. Went to Cordon Bleu Culinary School.
Ooh.
And this is my first chance to really have my own place and do things my own way. And we do contemporary American, but with extreme skill and attention to detail. So we have things you can get almost anywhere, but we do them very special and the exact right way.
That's awesome. I remember I did come here and I had a breakfast burrito, and it blew my freaking mind. You guys are the only spot around. Like, this is the heart and soul of the community. Is that where the name came from? Am I stretching it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's the original owners, Kat and Warren. They're dear friends of ours. They're like family. They put their heart and soul into the business, and it became the heart and soul of Green Valley.
That's awesome.
So it's sort of a shared feeling now among the whole town.
And when they owned it, did they also showcase all the St. Francis Dam?
They only had a few pictures, actually.
Okay.
And they're very good friends with the gentleman who owns all the rights to all the pictures.
Okay.
And he was very interested in having the pictures that he printed a lot of these for us. And we put them on the walls, and every time he comes in, he's very happy to see them all and always giving us new ones.
So many people don't know that it happened, that you guys are almost like the one-stop shop to learn about what it is. Like, even if you didn't know, if you happened to wander into here, like, there's no way you could deny, oh, something happened. There's pictures of it everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you guys get a lot of that? Do you have a lot of people coming in and being like, what is this?
Absolutely. We get a lot of first-time customers who aren't maybe are not exactly local, and they are, what's all these pictures on the walls? What's this about? And maybe they may have heard about it long ago, like, oh, I heard about the dam disaster, but this is sort of a way that they kind of educate themselves. They see pictures that you can't really see anywhere else, and I feel like we're kind of doing a bit of a service.
Yeah.
You know, there's really no memorial or anything.
Exactly. It's like, come get great food and learn something. So you are the Dam Man.
That's the title someone gave me a long time ago, yes.
And how did you even get that name?
I got interested in the dam disaster after my wife and I moved back here in 1982.
Okay.
Wanted to get involved with the community somehow. For the most part, I grew up here since I was 10 years old. Went to a talk at the local historical society, the Santa Clarita Valley Historical Society, and listened to the curator, Jerry Reynolds, talk about the St. Francis Dam disaster. And so it piqued my interest again, too, because I'd always known about it since I was a child. It was something you knew about because it's a big disaster that was in our backyard. My wife brought me a copy of the book, Charles Outland's Man-Made Disaster. And I started leafing through it, and I loved all the pictures of the disaster. I recognized the old canyons. And my wife and I were driving through the old San Francisco Canyon Road one day, and we saw the ruins peeking up out of the debris off to the right, and we just got a chill, and it just sort of piqued my interest more and more. And through the years, I kept going to the talks and got more interested in it, and I started researching and got with Jerry Reynolds, the curator, again, and we pulled in more information, digging into archives in Fillmore, Santa Paula, here. Mentioned to Jerry, after the slideshow was getting to be looking a bit worn and such, I told him there's this thing called video. So he said, go with it. So I went with it and started picking stuff up, and we started videoing the presentation. Jerry got ill and then passed away, and then handed it over to me. And so for about the last 5 years, I've been doing talks and lectures to the valley. I am the dam man.
You are the dam man. Okay, then tell me what happened from the phone call on March 12th. Like, what happened that day?
What happened that day? That morning, the dam keeper, Tony Harnesfeger, who'd been an employee of William Mulholland's for like almost 15 years, for several weeks he'd been noticing leaks coming out of the sides of the dam, both the east and the west sides of the dam. But in particular, the west side of the dam was leaking pretty profusely, and one morning, after watching it for weeks, the water kind of jetting out of it, he called Mulholland and told him he's really concerned about it, especially the fact that there was dirty water coming out of the fissures. And that would mean that there was piping going on. It was starting to corrupt.
Okay.
So Mulholland, with his chief assistant supervisor, Harvey Van Norman, along with his driver, came up and did a cursory inspection of the dam. That day the wind was blowing pretty fast and hard down the canyon, so it was blowing water through the spillways. The dam was 3 inches from maximum height. It was totally filled. So the leaks that Tony was talking about were hard to discern from the spillage that was coming over the front. What in fact was, it was a leak from up on the wing dike, an extension of the dam that they had put a 9-inch ceramic pipe in to draw the water off of, and it was going down the side of the dam. There was a leak, but this led them to believe that it was just runoff, and the dirty water was from road work that was being done on that section of the hillside that week. There's not rumor, but some facts from Tony Harnesfeger's niece, who was staying with him at that time, a little girl, and she'd heard William Mulholland telling Tony, "Don't mention this to the people downstream. It might cause a panic." Not meaning, I believe that Mulholland didn't think there was anything of it. He didn't want to cause a panic.
Yeah.
He thought it was all right, because he used to say, like, this is the all dams leak, and this is the driest dam I ever built. That night, there was a motorcycle rider named Ace Hopewell. He was a carpenter that worked at Power Station 1, which is 5 miles up from Power Station 2. He was going on his nightly run, and he passed over the dam about 2 minutes before it broke. He was about a mile past the dam when he heard rocks falling into the water, and he would assume that was just normal landslides, because that was normal around this area because of the structure of the hills. Got off his motorcycle, looked down into the water, and he couldn't tell anything that was happening. He could still hear rumblings of rocks and stuff. And he went on his way back to Powerhouse 1. At the same time, Powerhouse 1 got a huge bump in their system, like there was a drop in electricity, and then kicked in again. For the next half hour, they made tests on the line and couldn't get anything. They couldn't get any phone calls from Powerhouse 2. They sent 2 people down canyon to see what was the matter. The log from Powerhouse 1, it says, dam is out, lake is gone. And so it took the lake, the reservoir, which was nearly 3 miles long, 70 minutes to drain. What had happened at 11:57 and a half, they come to 57 and a half, because that is the time that the power poles went down.
So 100% specific.
And so there was a little flicker of power loss down in Los Angeles, but really kicked back right up. The floodwaters came out at 1.3 million cubic feet per second. It first dropped, and then a landslide caused a short stoppage in the water. This caused a big, huge mist of air to be pushed down the canyon, and this is what awoke one of the 3 survivors down at that Powerhouse 2 community. This was Lillian Curtis. This huge gust of air went through her home. She got up, she looked out on the river, looked out on her porch, and could see that the water was building up in the channel, and went back into to her husband, Lyman, who was head of the road crews. And he immediately scooped her and their 3-year-old son, Danny, threw him out the back window and told him to start running. The water and then was starting to take the house. He went back in to get their other 2 daughters. He and the daughters were lost.
Oh my God,
the whole
that's
house,
awful.
The whole house went. They scampered up a hillside with the water just licking at their feet, along with their little dog. They made it to a fire road above, and they were saved. hit.
I had no idea there was actually survivors from Powerhouse, like number 2 down there. I thought
3.
everybody went out.
3.
Wow.
Numbers are now, the number I believe was 67 people were killed.
Wow.
And some people are believing it was as high as 129.
So I've heard, when I've done my own little baby research, conflicting stories as to why the dam actually broke. So I understand, as much as I understand it, it's a gravity dam. So any kind of change in that kind of sends it into hell, is kind of what I kind of surmised. And then I've also heard rumors of it being on an ancient landslide land and them having no idea about that, or that there was some kind of shift and caused uplift. What happened?
All of that.
Oh,
Okay, now
perfect.
I usually call St. Francis the greatest accident waiting to happen.
Oh.
Because you're right, what happened was the dam, when it was designed, during the design phase, they added another 10 feet to the design. 11 months after construction had begun, they decided to raise the height again, another 10 feet. Total of 11% increase without expanding the base of the dam. That was one. The other was the fact that they had relief wells. For some reason, nobody's ever been able to find out why he did it just in the center section, but he put in relief wells, deal with then what was called uplift theory. The whole weight of the water, the dam, pushing up underneath the dam. Then you had what they weren't able really to know back then because of limits on science, was that they built the dam on what is an ancient landslide, a Paleolithic landslide. That was on the east side. The whole movement of the dam going down started like a week before. So you had all this working against you.
Yeah.
So, but what brought it down that night was the slide. The mountain gave way.
This is huge. It's like it's what, the worst engineering disaster in the United States, they've said?
It's the second worst in the history of California.
That's insane to me. And so I have to ask, in your opinion, why is it that nobody knows about this? Why is it that, I mean, you do a tour that people come out and it does sell out. There is a group of people that understands. There's a cafe that basically dedicates himself into telling you the story of it, yet so many people that grew up in California don't know this happened. Like, why? Like, there was newspapers, there was media, it existed. Like, why wasn't this something that was everywhere?
After the dam broke, of course, it was a big blot on the eye of the DWP, Department of Water and Power. So they came up a year later and they blew up the ruins. They also were dealing with a big PR problem because a boy who was killed who was playing on the ruins.
Okay.
And so it was a liability. They kept it out of their pamphlets and the history of the DWP. You rarely saw it. You know, when people come in and want to know about the DWP, the history of it, you know, the PR and everything, it's not there.
Is the Hollywood Dam also a gravity dam, or is it different?
Well, it was actually built an exact year before St. Francis, and slightly smaller, and it was the same design. After St. Francis collapsed, they convinced Mulholland after about 6 months to draw down the water in Mulholland Reservoir and do an inspection on it. What they found out is it was in worse shape than St. Francis.
Could potentially the same thing happen to it, or is it reinforced?
It's reinforced. It's not going anywhere.
Okay. I'm curious on your thoughts on this, because when I've walked the dam site, I don't want to say I feel haunted. It doesn't feel haunted to me, but it feels like a void. Like it's one of the loneliest places I've ever personally walked. Is that something you've had other people tell you, or that you've experienced?
No, I experience it myself every time I go out there. I go out there at least a couple times a month. And I like to call everything out there tangible history. It's no different than Custer's Battlefield or Titanic. This is something you can touch. You can touch the debris out there. Everything you're walking on there is not natural. It's all left from the flood.
Yeah.
You're not walking on the natural stream bed. You're about 20 to 30 feet above the natural stream bed.
Why is this so important to you personally? Like, what does it mean to you? Because I feel like you've dedicated a lot of time to this.
Oh, you know, I don't know if I've ever had a good reason for it, other than the fact that it's always fascinated me. It's a story that's unending, because I'll never hear all the stories from the people, the families in Fillmore and Santa Paula, Satakoy, down Canyon here. It extended far beyond the valley here. You know, a lot of people don't know it. You know, because of it, the Department of Dam Safety was established, and through that, they determined that no no one person, how eminent, would ever have final say on the building of a federal dam.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty significant.
So
that's a big change.
That is one of the positives of St. Francis.
Now armed with more answers than questions, I still feel like I need to see the dam for myself. So I'm headed the 5 miles back down the canyon road to the dam site.
We're here. This is where you come if you want to come to the St. Francis Dam, this random K-rail. This is where you come and you climb over the K-rail to get to it. Excuse the outfit. This is this is me being really professional. Comes in handy. So yeah, follow me as I don't die. As I don't die, as I don't die, as I don't die, as I don't. Professional now. Let's go to the dam site. One of the strangest things about this is, like, I can almost not even believe that something like this actually exists in LA, because you feel like you're on a movie set. It feels exactly what the site of a horrible disaster would feel like, but so much so that it feels fake. I don't know, it's a really weird experience. It's hard to explain, but it's as tragic as this place is, it's also kind of awesome. I mean, look at this. I feel like I'm in The Walking Dead. So this is kind of rad, and it's also a swamp. And I'm also in heels, so this is just the nature of what life is for me right now. So let's see how well this goes and hope I don't fall on my face. Perfect. This is what I do for you guys. You're welcome. Okay, so we're finally getting to what is left of the dam. So you can't see it from here, but almost directly above us is the last remaining wall of the dam.
Rising some 100 feet into the air, the western wall is truly still an architectural marvel. It has become the scar in the landscape, one of the last few reminders that anything ever stood there.
And we're approaching what they refer to as the tombstone, which was the middle section of the dam that was still left standing when the whole thing collapsed. It was actually up for a few years until a guy fell off and died. And they figured, you know what? Maybe we should dynamite this. Look, you can even see where the other wall would have been across the way.
It's an indescribable feeling to stand on the exact spot where there was once a modern marvel. To know that almost 100 years ago, there would be 12.6 gallons of water right behind me, hugging the spot I now stand. So to stand here and try to imagine that there was a 120-foot wave that in just 1/4 of a mile would claim its first victims. The dam keeper and his family would have had no reaction time, as the wall of water would take them in their cabin just seconds after the dam broke. A woman staying with the family would later be found fully clothed, wedged between pieces of concrete. The largest piece of concrete still intact found broken off from the dam was 10,000 tons, and it only made it 3/4 of a mile. So to walk this valley and to see this rubble, it's almost as if I'm walking in a cemetery full of unmarked graves. It's devastating. I hit the road again, traveling down canyon, starting my journey down the flood path. Our first stop is Powerhouse number 2. They've rebuilt one in the exact place of the original. It's also the site of the plaque commemorating the St. Francis Dam disaster. Despite the fact that so many people don't know this happened, it is a historical landmark, so it got a plaque. I have to be honest though, it was a pretty sombering experience to stand right there.
I gotta say, creeps, it's just not enough. That little marker outside of the power plant, it's just not enough. I just feel sad right now. That's the only way to describe it. It is, I don't know, it's disturbing. And I just feel like right behind where I'm sitting right now was the village and little town of the workers and the families of everybody that was working the dam. This was power plant number 2 in the village. Like 67 people died right here. Like right here, except for the 3 survivors that Frank told us about who escaped up. I've always been the kind of person that needs to immerse themselves in the history of something to be able to try to understand it. And talking with Frank provided so much insight onto so many of the specific technical details of the dam and then go to the dam site itself, to be there, to stand where the tombstone was, to stand where that poor man lost his life after he fell off or jumped off or whatever happening that day. All of that provides insight, but it's not enough. I need to drive this flood path. I need to see where the bodies ended up. I need to become the flood, if that makes sense. I think the reason why I'm so attached to this location and why I feel like it's my duty in some very odd way to spread the word on the subject is because I am guilty of having had no idea, just like most people, that it had even happened. If my friend hadn't happened upon it a year ago and then told me about it and taken me out there, I would have had no idea that this existed. I went out with him and we were both taken by the land. There is a vacancy and a void that is indescribable because you can't put your finger on what you feel. You feel haunted without feeling like there's spirits. You take a piece of it with you when you leave. My friend whom I went with, he is not the kind of person who gets shaken easily. And he could not shake this place. And for days, he was bothered by it. There really is a story here because the person that doesn't get shook up cannot shake this place. So we are nearing the end of the flood path. We are almost to Ventura. A lot of the bodies were carried out to sea. However, a whole bunch of bodies were also stopped along the way. And some are buried in different cemeteries in Santa Paula. There's a couple in Fillmore. But the mass grave is in Ventura at the Ivy Lawn Memorial Park. I have heard this cemetery does not like any filming. It does not like any photography. They even want you to request pictures of a family member's grave so they can take it and send to you. However, we all know me, and I'm going to pull a sneaky and I'm going to get us in there. It's actually a very pretty cemetery. I just having a hard time finding the marker. Well, creeps, it turns out I was wrong. There is no marker to mark the mass grave in this cemetery. And that is just wow.
What I've learned from this adventure is that although the past may seem forgotten, it is very much alive for those who care to look beyond the veil. Thanks to people like Frank Rock and Mike Yarnall, the St. Francis Dam disaster isn't quite as forgotten as it once was. There is also currently steps in motion that would help memorialize the dam on a larger scale. Alan Pollack, president of the Santa Clarita Historical Society, is currently working with local congressmen to introduce a bill creating a state park around the dam site. But this story is also a warning. Our Earth is fragile and constantly moving. Sometimes in life, the things in life necessary to have for survival, like mass reservoirs of water, ends up being the very thing that kills us. It is our duty as a human race to acknowledge the deaths of others, and up to 600 people lost their lives on that tragic morning of March 13, 1928. Let us do our part and help making sure that's never forgotten again.
I bet you creeps thought I was lying when I said the season was going to be different. I don't make promises I don't keep. Come on, guys.